Donnie's also special to me, I tell you. I don't think I'd have made it if I hadn't had a few of the special people in my life to show up, and I didn't have all that much trouble, I thought, until it got to the end, and I found out that I was having a lot more trouble than I thought. So I've got this cheat book over here. I've been making notes, and I've been talking at night. When I'd go to bed, I'd speak, and I'd think, this is the way I'm going to do it. So I don't know what you're going to hear tonight. There's no telling. We all get messages from our parents. My mother told me that I was a magical child, that I could do anything. I wish she was here tonight. So she gave me a lot of good vibes. My father, on the other hand, he taught me to fish, taught me to hunt, ride horses, play golf. I think he thought that I was going to turn into a boy, and I disappointed him. But I got a gun on Christmas Day, and then he took me out New Year's Day, and I was only in the first grade, and he said, there's a bird up there, see if you can shoot it. So I put my gun to my shoulder, just like he'd taught me how to do. I shot. The bird fell to the ground. And I threw my gun down and ran and got the bird, and I said, Daddy, he's dead. And he says, well, you shot him. I said, I know it. And I was just so upset I didn't know what to do, because it was, Donnie's right. I'm pretty much on the sad side sometimes. I sort of lost track of him, and when I got to be a teen, he kept saying, you're going up Fool's Hill. And I thought, does he mean that I'm a fool? And I was shocked. So it was something that I kept in my heart, and I tried to feel like that he loved me, but I couldn't figure out how he could if I was going up Fool's Hill. So when I got out of high school, I went into pre-vet. I was going to be a veterinarian. I was going to make sure that he was proud of me. And I was too young. My gosh, I was too young and too much of a baby to really get off the ground. So I didn't finish there, but I got some good things. I loved anatomy, and I loved English, comp. I got an A+ on my term paper, and I thought, gee, this is really good. Maybe I don't want to be a veterinarian. So I came home, and after a while I thought, I'll go to nursing school. And I went to nursing school, and that was pretty exciting. I had second highest on the floor, and my grades were good. And I thought, I found it. He's going to be proud of me. So while I was there was this patient, and the director of nurses, or the one on the floor, said, go in that room and come right out. Take the tray. You don't want to spend a lot of time. Well, it just so happened this guy was an alcoholic. I mean, he wasn't drinking at the time, but he had that alcoholic tendency, and he'd been in there for reckon he stood in the bird, and I fell right into a bad situation. So he convinced me that we were going to get married, and I needed to stop nursing school. And you know, I thought, I am going up Fool's Hill. But then I thought about that for a while, and he started drinking, and I said, this isn't going to get it. So I went into Al-Anon. And I had completely dismissed him, but I was learning a lot from Al-Anon. So while I was there, they had a Thanksgiving dinner. And who was sitting there at the table but my Mac? And I'm telling you, he was an alcoholic. No doubt about that. But there was some reason why I needed to find an alcoholic. And I don't know whether anybody's heard of Jody Kellerman. I bet Virgie has. But Jody had me come in one day. He was a counselor. And he says, I can't understand why you're so determined to marry an alcoholic. And you know what it was? It was that I needed to be needed more than anything else, because I thought, my father says I'm going up Fool's Hill. he doesn't need me. So then I decided I would go to business school. This is crazy. This is how it is. And modeling. And in business school, there was a note on the board, and it said, I need a secretary. So he was just out of law school, and he said, I can teach you everything you want to know. I can make you a paralegal. So I said, well, that sounds pretty good, pretty impressive. So I went to work for him in the Johnson building, right downtown Charlotte on Tryon Street. Here's a little girl that's barely got her wings, and she's trying to be something. So one day I was sitting there. He was in court, and this man comes in, and he says, I've got a handful of tickets, and I think your attorney can help me with them. And I said, oh, sure, but he's in court. So he says, well, is there a place to eat here? And I said, yeah, there's one downstairs. He says, well, why don't you show me and you eat with me? That was Mac. He came up. I didn't remember him from the Thanksgiving dinner, but there he was. So I had an alliance with him. We both needed each other. He needed me as bad as I needed him. And we got married. And then we moved to Sanford. And he had been sober almost a year. And he was supposed to pick up his chip. So he said, I've got to go out of town. I've got to go to Charlotte. And I said, oh, goody, I'll go with you. And he said, no, this is business. And I said, okay. So I went home to my mother's house, and he was gone about 3 days. And I was upstairs, and I looked out the window and saw him drive up. And I said, oh, my God. And she said, what's the matter? And I said, he's been drinking. And she said, how can you tell from upstairs looking down? And I said, he's got a red hat on, and he does not wear red hats. So he had been drinking. And I said, well, what about your year's chip? Oh, I haven't been drinking that much. Well, I'll pick it up anyway. So I said, well, I don't think that's going to work. So I called his sponsor, and I said, don't tell him I called you. But he said, no, I won't. Just bring him to the meeting. So he was sitting there, and his sponsor got up, and he said, is there anybody for a white chip? And Matt kind of wiggled in his chair, and he said, is there anybody for a white chip? And then he really got nervous then. And then he leaned over the podium, and he looked right at Mac, and he says, is there anybody for a white chip? And Mac got up, and I didn't know what he was going to do, but he got up and picked up a white chip. And from then on, I think he had 2 full years out of 42. But he wasn't all bad. There were times when I loved him dearly. And so he went to work with another company. He liked changing jobs. That's sort of part of the course. So we went back to Charlotte, and I thought, well, I'll go to work in an office. I detested an office. But I had a horse I had to support, so I went back. And then he got a call, and he was going to Germany. And this was a textile machinery firm. So he said, yeah, I'll go. But he said, Dee Dee's got to come along. And they said, okay, bring Dee Dee. So I was really glad to go. We spent a month over there, and when they'd put a drink in front of him, I would drink it. When they brought ice cream out and brought the schnapps, I would drink the schnapps. And I went home with laryngitis. I mean, that was really, I was protecting him. But, I kind of got to like him there. So I met this girl in Al-Anon, and she had a terrible terrible time. She had been at home on Christmas Eve. Her husband had called, and he said, "May I come home?" Now, she had 3 children, and he had been quite ill with alcohol. And she said, "No." And he said, "Please." And she said, "No." He went out of the phone booth, stepped in front of the car, and was killed. So you can imagine what kind of a mood that put her under. And she says they have this grow therapy. It's over in Gastonia. And she said, "Would you go with me?" And I said, "Well, if there's anybody that needs to grow, it's me. So I think I'll take you up on that." And it was a Gestalt therapy. And it was good. And what I got out of that was, you put in your mind what you want to do. And I was a magic child anyway, I could do anything. So I said, I want a barn where I can board horses. I want to get out of this office. I do not like the office. And so the guy said, "Okay, put that in your mind. Think about it. Picture it. Start looking for it. You'll end up with it." And I did. I was so surprised. The barn showed up with a nice 20 acres. And I thought, this is how I want to live the rest of my life. But what I didn't know was that was hard work. That was very hard work. I mean, it wasn't just getting out and teaching a class of writing. It wasn't putting up the jumps. It was also mucking out the stalls. And I came to myself one day, I said, is this all you're worth? You're still going up Fool's Hill. You're just mucking out stalls for the rest of your life. Ellen knows what I mean. So we won the North Carolina Pony Hunter Championship in Raleigh. We won the Intermediate Championship here in Moore County. And I had enjoyed hunting in Moore and Mecklenburg. And I thought, well, it's not all bad, but Mac began to travel. And I would get so tired during the day. I was skin and bones, just worked myself to death. And so I'd get the horses fed. It was cold some of those days, too. I mean, I was freezing. I'd get everybody fed, get the children sent home, and I'd go in the house, get my dogs, and I kept a stash of sherry. And I'd watch the sun go down and drink that sherry, and I thought, this is a delightful way to make everything go away. So it was, I guess that's really where I started. And so I began to use the writing expertise I got at State, and this man asked me to do a column for Piedmont Horseman. And I said, well, I'll try it. So he was really pleased, and I thought, if I'm going to write for this little newspaper in Charlotte, why not write for a magazine? So I queried a few magazines, and they said, yeah, we'll take your article. So I sent him the article, and I went to the post office, the mailbox one day, and there was a check, and I said, oh, this is what I want to do. I had finally gotten up Fool's Hill. So then Matt got out of a job again, and I was enjoying writing for the magazine, and I knew something was really going to happen. So we went to Florence, South Carolina. He wanted to see about a job, and I thought, that's a long way to drive for a job, and I thought, he's going to leave me. So we were coming back, and we got into one whale of an argument. I mean, I don't usually argue, but this time I was losing my barn. And I got mad. I was really mad at him. And I said, stop the car, I want out. So he stopped the car. I mean, we're out in nowhere, and I got out. And there I saw the car going down the road. And I said, this is not exactly how I planned it. So I walked back to a coffee shop, and I was sitting there and thinking, this is the lowest I've been down Fools Hill. I mean, this is really the bottom. I've got to start climbing again. And 2 truck drivers came in, and I drank my coffee, and I thought, well, you've got to do something. You know, a boat was not meant to sit in the harbor. A boat was built for getting out. So I said, I'm going to get out. I walked over to the truck drivers, and I said, are you going towards Charlotte? And they looked at each other. I don't know what they thought I was up to, but they said, yeah, we'll take you to Charlotte. And I said, okay. So I climbed in the truck with 2 people I did not know, one of these great big trucks, and we were heading home. And so we came to Providence Road. And I said, you can just let me off at this little station. And he said, lady, it's pitch dark, and are you going to have somebody waiting for you? And I said, oh yeah, somebody will pick me up. Bluff. So I got out. I walked 3 miles to the barn in the dark, pitch dark, cold, and there was a car in front of the house. And I said, well, I'll just go in the barn and sleep while they're in there, because I don't want to see anybody. I was too embarrassed. And I heard a helicopter. And so finally, I woke up, and there was still a car there. So I walked in, and Mac and one of his AA buddies looked like they'd seen a ghost. And they both started crying, and I said, what is wrong? And he said, we had the helicopter looking after you. So here I was. I caused all this. I felt like nothing. And it was just a very, very bad feeling. So we lost the farm, and we moved into an apartment. My girlfriend that had her husband step out in front of a car, she says, you're going to kill Dee. She can't live in an apartment. I mean, it's too close for her. She's used to being outside. So he says, oh, she'll be all right. She'll be all right. So I did that for 2 months. And I had a Doberman Pinscher and a Siamese cat, and we went round and round. I mean, we were both stir crazy. And you talk about sherry. I mean, I think I could have opened a store on how much I was drinking. That's when I really found out this really numbs your head. So I woke up one morning at 2 o'clock, or maybe I was just came to at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. And I said, Mac, I'm going home. And he said, okay, we'll go home. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. And I said, no, I'm going home to stay. And he said, well, we'll stay a couple of days. So he just didn't know what was going on. So we went home that weekend, and I told my folks, I said, I'm coming home. I'm going to find a house. I'm going to find a barn. And the whole bunch of us are coming home. And so when we got down there, I went back to work in an office, which I hated, and he got a night job. And when he was there at night, I mean, when he was at work at night, then I would really get into the sherry again. I don't know why I stuck to sherry, because there's so much nicer stuff out there. But, you know, I thought, well, this works for me. So one night I came home. It was late, and it was cold, and I took my horse out, and he was an Arabian, and he was quite frisky. And we got away from home, and a storm came up. I mean, the tops of those pines were going like that. And the lightning was hitting all around us, and the thunder. And I just put him on the buckle and put my hand on him. I said, Circa, you're going to have to take us home. If we get there, good. If we don't, good. So we got home. I got off that horse, and I hugged him, and I said, I will never, ever part with you. And he died at age 38. Wow. So it was like part of me went with him. I still kept writing, and I began writing for Spur. It was a horse magazine. And they wanted a story a month. and my gosh, the horse people down here are very, very colorful. And they thought I was making up part of it. And I said, no, I'm not. And so they said, okay, send me one every month. I'll take it. And then I went to a place in South Carolina, and they said, we're going to make you Carolina's editor. I said, okay, it sounds good. So I was still working in an office at that time, writing at night. And then they finally said, well, let's make you roving editor, because, you're doing pretty good. You know how to meet people. We'll just send you over the Southeast. And that was really exciting. They gave me a salary. They gave me an expense account. And I had a girlfriend that she was... thought she'd play a trick on me, and she set me up with a couple of people that ate journalists. I mean, they just devoured anybody that would try to get a story out of it. And I got through that. So they wanted me to come up to the office in Middleburg. And this time, I had a friend up there who wanted to have a dinner party for the girl whose mother owned the magazine, and for some more horse people. And I said, well, I think that's wonderful. Her mother had taken me to an embassy party. She'd taken me to breakfast with Tip O'Neill, and I thought, I've got to pay Connie back for, her mother doing that. So we went to this party in Middleburg, and now you talk about, I think half the horsewomen should be in this program. I really do. Because, well, I guess half of them are. If you want to know about it. So the woman that gave the dinner party, she came to me and she said, you're going to have to follow Missy Sabin home because she has had too much to drink. And I thought, my God, I'd been drinking scotch all night. And I didn't have that much to eat. So I said, okay, I'll take her home. So Connie and I got in the car, and we followed her home, and she pulled into her house, and she said, you've got to come in, I'm going to fix you a cup of tea. And I said, I don't know how to argue with that, So we got out, went in, and she fixed the tea, but she filled half the cup with rum. And I was always, already feeling like that, so I took Connie back to the office, which was her home. That's where she lived. And I said, the best thing for me to do is go home. So I drove home from Middleburg, Virginia, all night, and I got home in the morning, and Mac was there, and he said, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I just decided I would come home. I just had too much to drink. And he said, that's not how that works. So I continued to write for Spur. And I went to Aiken, South Carolina. They're having a big do, and I was supposed to bring a stack of magazines. So I brought the magazines. No, I didn't. They didn't send me the magazines. So when I got there, the woman who was having the big show, she said, you didn't bring my magazines? It was her magazines, and she really lit into me. And I was feeling really down, and again, that thing comes up with the Fool's Hill, and I thought, well, I'm just, everywhere I turn, I got this finger pointing at me saying I'm going up Fool's Hill. So I was on the back stretch, and I was walking along. I said, I've got to get a story. So this man was coming toward me, and I stopped him, and I said, excuse me, would you happen to be a trainer? And he said, no, I'm sorry. I'm just an artist. That was Peter Howell, who is a famous steeplechase artist. And I said, well, that sounds like a good story. So I went with his gallery, the Chriswick Gallery in New York, and Peter, and we sat out there, and the woman saw me sitting with them, and she was very nice to me after that, but, it didn't sort of make me feel any better. So about that time, I had a call from Ocala, Florida. This woman had an ad agency, and she said, I want you to come down and work for me. And I thought, well, Florida would be a nice place to live. So I went down there, and she made me vice president. She paid me a good salary, and we put together the farm manager's directory. And I was a copywriter. And everybody liked it. Everybody liked me. I thought, well, I found my niche. That's where I'm supposed to be. And I kept asking Mac to please think about coming down and buying a house down there. And he said, no, I don't want to go to Florida. So I would drive home every 2 weeks. And finally, I was out with 2 real estate ladies one day, and they heard and then they heard, and then finally I just wailed, and they stopped the car and they said, what's wrong? I said, I'm homesick. So they said, okay, we're going to turn around. We're not going to take you anywhere. And then the next night I went to see E.T. Oh my God. When I saw that movie, I came out of the movie, and everybody stopped me and said, what's wrong? Are you sick? I said, I'm homesick. So that was the end of that. I said, I've got to go home. So when I got home, I was at loose ends. I didn't know what to do. I don't know whether Mac had a job or not, but we needed a job. I needed one badly. And I said, well, I don't exactly know what to do. But I went to work for a Lansing's, the dress shop in the Carolina Hotel. And then a bar owner asked me to go to work for him. And then I said, this is getting out of hand. So I had just lost a friend. This guy, he was 20 years older than I was, but he was like a father to me. We used to play golf, myself and these 3 old bachelors, and I just had such a good time playing with him. And he said his son wanted him to come to some place, and I said, you're going to end up in a nursing home, you're going to die, and I don't know, there's no way I can tell you how I know this, but I know it's going to happen. Well, it happened exactly like I said. And I was so depressed I didn't know what to do. And I sat on the back porch one time, and I had a bottle of bourbon and a container of Seconal. That is not to be messed with, believe me. I'd drink some bourbon, and then I'd take a Seconal. I'd drink some bourbon, take a Seconal. I don't know how many I took because I passed out. And I was really on my way out. I wanted to die. I said, well, this is the end. I'm just not going to try anymore. And Matt came out, and I don't know what happened, but I woke up the next morning. I had a huge black eye. I had fallen from the bed. I had lost everything I drank, and I'd hit the steamer trunk on the corner, and that was a huge black eye. And you know who he called when he found me like that? He said, well, I didn't know anybody else to call, so I called your veterinarian. Yeah, either he really thought that he was going to help, or he was too embarrassed to call a doctor. But I just couldn't believe he would do that. And the vet told me later, he said, yeah, he called me. I told him to try to get you in bed. So the depression, sometimes it isn't about being weak. It's about trying to be strong for too long. And that's exactly what I was trying to do. I'll skip ahead because I didn't know it was getting that late. I was having so much fun. And Mac got sick, and he had lymphoma. He got over that, and he had a bad heart. The chemotherapy had weakened his heart, and I knew he was going to die. And this is when I really tried my best to drink myself to death. And I did this for about 6 months. And I was sitting outside the barn with a friend, And I said, I think I'm going to AA. And she said, for what? And I said, well, I said, you don't see me at night. You don't know anything about me, really. And I was in Charlotte, and I went to AA and Al-Anon, and I knew what the people were like. I knew they were great people, and they were my kind of people. I needed them, and they needed me, I felt. So I came in, and like Donnie said, I was a pitiful case. I mean, I was just on the edge. It was just like I was riding on a razor. And so they say go to 90 meetings in 90 days. I went to about 120. And it got easier, and I found people like Donnie and Frank and Don and Marion and Hugh and Rodney and everybody that knew, you know who you are, you know how you helped me. And you took me by the hand and said, okay, we're going to get there. And so after I had that last drink, I didn't drink anymore. And I'm just so happy to, as Donnie says, find the herd. And I found all of it. And I don't think I would have talked anywhere else for anyone else but Donnie tonight. I'm just so happy to be here. And I've got an extra good surprise for you. I think a member of Donnie's family is going to stand up and say a few words.
Thanks, Dee Dee. How's everyone doing? All right. My name is Donnie Miller as well. First things first. Congratulations, Dad. Well done. You know what I'm saying? I have a lot to say. I don't really even know where to begin. It's been a long road. You got to always keep the faith. The number 13 is a good number. You're normally associated with luck, but I'm associated with blessings tonight. I wrote my father a letter when I was 18 years old. Some of y'all may have heard about this. And I put in the letter, you was a good father, but you could have been better. Some of you heard that. And I have kids of my own now. Man, I eat them words. Eat them words all the time, Dad. Try not to get choked up in here. Yeah, I have a good dad, Dad. Appreciate it. I watch you go through everything. I reflect sometime. I try to put myself in your shoes. He moved us down here from D.C. when I was 11 years old. I have an older sister, younger brother, single dad. I salute you for everything you do. You know what I'm saying? I'm a work in progress. He's always been in my corner. Never told me no. I mean, I don't know, sometimes that may have helped me and may have hurt me by him not telling me no. I don't know. But I'm going to get it right. Love you, Dad.
Yeah, right.